Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News. I'm Tracy Shilshi, and in the next 30 minutes I'll be getting you through the day's top stories, what we're looking forward to this morning, especially from the Apollo Hospital in Chennai. All eyes on the developments coming in from there, but first the headlines. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Jayalalitha is critical after suffering cardiac arrest last evening. Team of specialists closely monitoring the situation, while security has been stepped up outside the hospital as supporters gather after hearing the news. Amritsar Declaration adopted after the 6th Heart of Asia Ministerial Conference. Terrorism recognized as the biggest threat to peace, and for the first time, terror outfits like the Lashkar-e-Toiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed are named. RBI to issue new 50 and 20 rupee notes soon, while the old versions of the notes will continue to be valid. IT department rejects 2 declarations made under the income declaration scheme and begins a probe. Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi quits after losing constitutional referendum. Renzi was promoting constitutional reforms that projected to speed up legislative work. And shock announcement by the New Zealand Prime Minister John Key to quit, cites family reasons and says it's the right time to quit after 8 years in the job. Top story this morning, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Jayalalitha is said to be critical after she suffered a cardiac arrest on Sunday evening. Doctors at the Apollo Hospital in Chennai, where she was admitted 2 months ago, said that they were closely monitoring her condition and trying their best. The Chief Minister was put on a heart assist device and is being treated by a team of expert doctors and critical care specialists. Apollo said that they have consulted Dr. Richard Beale from London on the line of treatment. Union Health Minister J.P. Nadda also spoke to the Apollo chairman and inquired about Jayalalitha's health. Doctors from AIIMS in Delhi will be leaving for Tamil Nadu today to assist in the treatment. Following the news, a huge crowd of supporters gathered outside the hospital since last night, many of them breaking down inconsolably and praying for her speedy recovery. A massive police deployment has also been made to control the crowd. The CRPF has also been put on alert. All police officers were asked last night, in fact, to report by 7 a.m. this morning in the wake of the situation. Jayalalitha was hospitalized, remember, on the 22nd of September after she complained of fever and dehydration.
She's under observation. That's exactly the information that I have got from Ansar. I've been there since 9 o'clock in the night. And the doctors are definitely taking good care of the Honorable Chief Minister. And I'm sure with all our prayers, she'll get well soon. Thank you.
Well, President Pranab Mukherjee has expressed concern of the health of Jayalalitha in a tweet, saying that he is distressed to hear about the cardiac arrest. The president tweeted he is praying for her speedy recovery. Tamil Nadu governor, who is also the governor of Maharashtra, rushed to Chennai last evening and inquired about her health as well. Earlier, Home Minister Rajnath Singh also spoke to the governor soon after news came in from Apollo. In fact, several union ministers also expressed concern about Jayalalitha's health and prayed for her recovery. Jayalalitha's political opponents in Tamil Nadu also expressing hope that she will recover soon. Also in a tweet, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi said that he is praying for Jayalalitha's quick recovery, and he expressed hope that she will get better very soon. Several chief ministers and other top leaders also prayed for Jaya's recovery. All right, for more on the developing situation there, what we can expect perhaps in the day ahead, if there is any kind of indication coming in from the hospital, we've got Narayan Lakshman, who's the senior deputy editor with The Hindu, joining us on the phone line. Lakshman, thanks so much for joining us here on the Breakfast News. First of all, telling our viewers really of what happened through the night. Tense definitely outside the hospital. What kind of a statement are we expecting from the Apollo Hospital at all, if there is any indication of a medical bulletin?
Morning, and thanks for having me. Yes, indeed, it was an extremely tense evening last night, as the announcement came out late in the evening of her cardiac arrest. Since then, you must have seen the images of many people, many hundreds, possibly thousands, thronging Greens Road, which is the narrow road leading up to Apollo Hospital's main building. I think what has really set off concern across the state certainly is the fact that there has been information put out by Apollo from time to time, including yesterday's update that she's had a cardiac arrest and that she's being looked after by cardiologists, pulmonologists, and there are experts being flown in, or at least being consulted from London, Dr. Richard Beale, and also from AIIMS in New Delhi. But at the same time, I think people have expressed a lot of concern about the lack of information regarding her prognosis and maybe specifics about what is going on. And that has contributed to the level of tension going sort of through the roof. And today, I think the scene has become calmer, partly just owing to the fact that there was some rainfall overnight and the crowds at Apollo dispersed. And at the moment, I think they're building up again. I believe that the police have been told to report early by 7 a.m. and they're back at their post near the hospital. Obviously, I think over the day, they're going to be looking at what further can be done to help Ms. Jayalalitha in her critical condition. And we could expect an update later in the day. I think it would be really touch and go to see, what kind of update that is. I think we should be careful about speculating because we really don't know until there is concrete information.
Absolutely. As far as speculation on her health, nothing we're doing that on that front. And you're right in saying that the lack of information perhaps adding to that tension, adding to perhaps people talking a little more and spreading rumors. And we're seeing a lot of that through the night, 90% of which, of course, are rumors of the information that we are getting. If you could give us an update really on the schools and colleges, they are definitely open on their own accord. If they decide to shut, that's something else. But as far as what the education minister did say, the state education minister, he said, we have not shut down any schools or colleges. Things have to go on as, they were supposed to.
Exactly. And this is a sort of an example of the rumor mongering that's happening. So multiple, TV channels and news agencies carried reports first of a complete shutdown of schools. And then everyone backtracked. And there were statements from, I think, also the school education secretary here saying that there is no mandatory closure. But as you correctly pointed out, a number of schools, private schools especially that I've heard of this morning, have closed. There is obviously a concern about the conditions that will prevail across the roads of Chennai and maybe elsewhere in the states. And there have been, cancellations, I believe, of examinations in some cases, including Anna University and so on. But again, the lesson really coming out of all this is to please wait and watch and not, add to the rumor mongering, which fueled by speculation, and that leads to possibly, more risk to everyone and to institutions across the city and state than there should be.
Absolutely. Narayan Lakshman, thanks so much for joining us and giving us an update on how the situation stands at the moment. What we really have to say to her supporters is that, the situation looks calm at the moment. There are a set of doctors from London as well, from Delhi's AIIMS as well, tracking the situation, being there, of course, for her. And we'll, of course, try and get you the latest from Apollo whenever they do come out with a medical bulletin. Meanwhile, let's head on to other news now. And the 6th Heart of Asia Conference described terrorism as the biggest threat to peace, stability and cooperation in the region, calling all states to take action against terrorist entities. The Amritsar Declaration was adopted, which mentioned terror groups like Lashkar-e-Toiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed. Here's a report.
Combating terrorism was at the center of the Heart of Asia Conference. The Amritsar Declaration adopted on Sunday called for dismantling of terrorist sanctuaries and safe havens in the region. The declaration mainly mentions two groups targeting India, Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, in addition to the Haqqani network. The day-long conference, however, could not create a consensus on road routes from Afghanistan to India and other South Asian countries that come from inside Pakistan. Pakistan insisted on accepting the China-led CPEC as a major network to connect countries of the regions, but was met with rejection from most of the nations. Chabahar port has now been made the major transit point to Afghanistan.
The declaration recognizes terrorism as the biggest threat to peace and stability and demands immediate end to all forms of terrorism and all support financing safe havens and sanctuaries to it. For the first time, a Heart of Asia declaration expressed concern at the violence caused in Afghanistan and the region by terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda, Daesh, Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, etc. Apart from calling for concerted international cooperation in this end,
We face similar problems, we face similar opportunities, and there are enormous opportunities. And I think our two leaders were able to very eloquently stress that this morning. But we also see in our region a very difficult problem of terrorism and violent extremism. We also see the problem of states nurturing and flirting with terrorism, which obviously not only has consequences for themselves, but also consequences for the region as a whole.
While Afghanistan also pushed for its proposal on how to counter terrorism in the region, it was not accepted due to lack of consensus, especially due to Pakistan's opposition. Therefore, there was no consensus on non-interference in the internal affairs of other countries. Afghanistan said it might not be easy in the near future to stop the menacing impact of violence and radicalization due to threats from the other side of the border. Akhilesh Suman's report from Amritsar for Rajya Sabha TV.
And in a clear message to Pakistan, India and Afghanistan jointly called upon member nations of the Heart of Asia to dismantle sanctuaries of terrorism. They joined hands in cornering Pakistan for inciting radicalization of the youth in the region and for spreading terrorism in Afghanistan that has given rise to instability in regions beyond the country.
Afghan President Ashraf Ghani singled Pakistan out at the Heart of Asia Ministerial Conference in Amritsar on Sunday. Ghani minced no words in saying that there was no peace and stability in the country because of Pakistan's support to terrorists.
Pakistan is generously pledged $500 million for reconstruction of Afghanistan. This fund, Minister Aziz, could be very well used for containing extremism, because without peace, any amount of assistance will not meet the needs of our people.
A permanent chair of the Heart of Asia process, Afghan President Ghani also said Pakistan was providing sanctuaries to terrorists and that in the name of fighting terrorism, Pakistan is only targeting selective groups of terrorist outfits.
And some still provide sanctuary, in support or tolerate these networks. As Mr. Kakazada, one of the key figures in the Taliban movement, recently said, if they did not have sanctuary in Pakistan, they would not last a month.
Afghan President echoed the stand of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who had asked the world community to isolate Pakistan for its support to terrorists. Prime Minister Narendra Modi asked the Heart of Asia participants and supporters to strive for an Afghan-controlled process. He said very clearly that action should be taken against those who support terrorism.
And the growing arc of terrorist violence endangers our entire region. As such, support for Voices for Peace in Afghanistan alone is not enough. It must be backed by resolute action, not just against forces of terrorism, but also against those who support, shelter, train and finance them.
Both Prime Minister Modi and Afghan President Ghani asked Pakistan to provide a route from its territory for Afghanistan to help connect with the other South Asian and Southeast Asian countries. Prime Minister Modi declared that India would open air transport corridor to win over obstructions by Pakistan in the road route.
We also plan to connect Afghanistan with India through an air transport corridor. President Ghani and I have discussed additional measures for deepening our bilateral cooperation. We are making progress in developing plans for utilization of the additional $1 billion earmarked by India for capacity and capacity building in Afghanistan.
Agreement signed in Tehran between India, Iran and Afghanistan on the port of Chabahar is a major step in transforming Afghanistan from a landlocked country to a land bridge. Your words, assuring the Afghan people of the support of 1.25 billion strong Indian people, have been quickly matched by deeds, as demonstrated by your pledge of $1 billion.
Afghan President Ghani held bilateral talks on Sunday morning with Prime Minister Modi before inaugurating the Heart of Asia Ministerial Conference.
All right, with that, a quick break here. We'll be back with more news in a bit. Stay with us.
Hello and welcome. I'm Amritan Shira and you're watching Law of the Land.
Transgender is the most visibly invisible.
The transgender is an umbrella term.
New bill kind of, criminalized the whole thing.
Watch Law of the Land on Rajya Sabha television.
Enter the majestic forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan and you'll come across the Jaipur column. A gift to the Viceroy from Savai Madho Singh, the Maharaja of Jaipur, to commemorate the creation of the new capital. The 145-meter high column is crowned with 6 pointed crystal stars on a bronze lotus, and inside the stone shaft runs a steel tube which weighs a little more than 5 tons. The base of the column has text conceived by Lord Irwin and Sir Edwin Lutyens inscribed on it.
Welcome back. More national news. And the Reserve Bank of India has announced that it would issue new 50 and 20 rupee bank notes, but it also said the old versions of these notes will continue to be valid. The new 50 rupee notes won't have inset letters in the number panels, and the new 20 rupee notes will have inset letter L in both the number panels. Both new notes will bear the signature of RBI Governor Urjit Patel, and the year of printing 2016 will be mentioned on the reverse side of the notes. The RBI's announcement comes just weeks after the government scrapped the 500 and 1000 rupee notes at midnight between November 8th and 9th. A new version of the 500 rupee note and new 2000 rupee notes have been issued since then. Meanwhile, the Income Tax Department has rejected 2 sets of declarations of 2 lakh crore rupees and 13,860 crore rupees made under the Income Declaration Scheme (IDS). These declarations were rejected after it was found that the declarants were persons of suspicious nature and very small means. The department has commenced inquiries against them to determine the intention behind these false declarations. A family of 4 from Mumbai made the declaration of 2 lakh crore rupees, whereas the other declaration was filed by a resident of Ahmedabad for an amount of 13,860 crore rupees. These declarations have been kept pending for probe and were not included in total value of declarations announced on the 1st of October this year. Meanwhile, the revised figure of actual declarations is 67,382 crore rupees as against declarations totaling 65,250 crore rupees announced earlier. The scheme was announced by the government in June this year with an aim to bring out black money from the domestic economy. Those disclosing assets under the IDS will have to pay a 45% tax with penalty. The payments can be made in 3 installments till September 2017, and the first installment of 25% under the scheme was to be paid by November this year, followed by another installment of 25% by the 31st of March 2017. The remaining amount will have to be paid by September 2017. All right, some international news now. In Italian, Prime Minister Matteo Renzi has resigned after losing a constitutional referendum. He conceded defeat on Sunday before official results were announced as exit polls showed he was heading for a heavy defeat. Renzi was promoting constitutional reforms which proposed to cut the number of senators from 315 to 100 and remove the Senate's right to hold votes of no confidence in the government. It was projected to save the country 500 million euros per year and speed up legislative work. Renzi would visit the Italian president today to formally hand in his resignation after a final meeting with his cabinet. His administration is expected to be replaced by a caretaker government until the next election due to take place in 2018.
Il no ha vinto in modo straordinariamente netto. Ai leader del fronte del no le mie congratulazioni. Il mio augurio di buon lavoro nell'interesse del Paese, nell'interesse dell'Italia e degli italiani.
And in a shocking announcement, New Zealand Prime Minister John Key resigned as the Prime Minister, saying that it was the right time to quit after 8 years in the job. Key cited family reasons for leaving, saying that the job had required great sacrifices from those who are dearest to me. And in an emotional message, he said that the time was right for him to resign adding that it was an opportunity to refresh the National Party's leadership of the country for a fourth term. Key's resignation would be effective from next week after his party MPs will meet to select a new leader. Deputy Prime Minister Bill English is said to be the favourite to take over from him.
Oh, I think back your instincts. You operate as Prime Minister not with perfect information all the time. It would be great if you did, but unfortunately hindsight has taught me that things evolve, and as stories evolve, there's always information you didn't find out straight away and you didn't know. But I think most of all, the public are amazingly forgiving of all of that, as long as they look in your eyes and they believe you. And I think particularly television shows your heart, and I think in the end, if you're trying to do the right thing, they'll cut you a lot of leeway.
Now to Syria, where at least 46 people have been killed in rebel-held parts on Sunday as the government forces advanced in fierce clashes in Idlib, province of East Aleppo city. Syrian government has so far captured more than 60% of eastern districts that fell to rebels in 2012. Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights Monitor on Sunday said that the Russian airstrikes have killed 26 civilians in the town of Kafr Nabel, while 18 people were killed in Marit al-Numan. Syrian army also recaptured a major road leading to the Aleppo International Airport. The army lost control of the strategic motorway to rebel 4 years ago. The army also dropped leaflets asking rebels to hand over their weapons and surrender, as well as assuring civilians and injured citizens that they can leave. More than tens of thousands of residents have fled so far. And here's a look at what else is making news across the world in World Wrap. Cubans bid final goodbye to revolutionary leader Fidel Castro on Sunday, bringing an end to the 9 days of national mourning. Thousands paid their last respects at Castro's final resting place in Santiago de Cuba, from where he began his political journey. Castro died last month at the age of 90. The death toll from a fire at a California warehouse where a party had been taking place rose to 30 today. Authorities had only searched a small part of the two-storied building, which was gutted and left unstable by the inferno late on Friday night. There's still more work to be done, and there are fears of finding more victims after digging deeper into the building. Iran has warned the United States against extending sanctions, saying that it would be a clear violation of the Iran nuclear deal. This after the US Senate voted to extend the Iran Sanctions Act by 10 years last week. The pact, signed last July between Iran and 6 world powers, lifted the sanctions in exchange for limits on Iran's nuclear program. However, the US still maintains its own set of sanctions, which will expire on the 31st of December if President Obama does not sign the extension into law. All right, sports now. And in cricket, the Indian women's team lifted the Asia Cup 2020 tournament after defeating arch rivals Pakistan by 17 runs in the final played at Bangkok on Sunday. Opting to bat, India posted 121 for 5 in 20 overs, riding on opener Mithali Raj's unbeaten 73. The bowlers then bowled brilliantly to limit Pakistan to 104 for 6, completing a comprehensive 17-run win. The star with the ball once again was left-arm spinner Ekta Bisht, who took 2 wickets, conceding 22 runs in her 4 overs. It was the second time that India got the better of Pakistan in the competition, having beaten them by 5 wickets in the league stage, besides remaining unbeaten in 5 games en route to the final. And here are some more sporting action in Sportsbeat. India's women's doubles pair of Ashwini Ponnappa and Nsiki Reddy finished as runners-up at the Welsh International Challenge badminton tournament. The duo lost 21-16, 21-11 to the top-seeded Russian pair of Olga Morozova and Anastasia Cheryakov in the final that lasted 37 minutes. This was the pair's second tournament together, following Ponnappa and Jwala Gutta's split. 51-year-old Indian golfer Mukesh Kumar became the oldest golfer to win an Asian Tour title after lifting the Panasonic Open on Sunday. Mukesh, who has 123 PGTI titles under his belt, won his first ever title on the Asian Tour in the form of the Panasonic Open. Indian golfers Jyoti Randhawa and Rashid Khan shared the second position. The UAE Royals overcame the Indian Aces 30-20 to win their International Premier Tennis League matchup in Saitama in Japan and moved to the top of the IPTL rankings. In fact, the Royals were inspired early by Switzerland's Martina Hingis, who blew past the Aces' Kristen Flipkens of Belgium 6-4 in the women's singles before combining with Uruguay's Pablo Cuevas to see off Indian pair of Sania Mirza and Rohan Bopanna in the mixed doubles. A penalty scored by Leighton Baines in the 89th minute of the match earned a draw for Everton against Manchester United at the Goodison Park on Sunday. In fact, United had taken the lead in the 42nd minute with Zlatan Ibrahimovic's chip goal before Marouane Fellaini gave away the penalty 1 minute from the full time.
This bit the difference as Ibrahimovic goes in and Stekelenburg was second best.
Well, that's all we could pack in on the breakfast news. Thanks for joining us.